Hello everyone and welcome to Qualitos Games. Today we are making a short guide to Dacia campaign in Rome Total War, and it applies to both original game and to remaster. And let's begin with buildings and kind of the main guidelines for the faction. So it has infantry units of Warband, Volksman and Chosen Swordsman, and Volksman is kind of a unique unit for Dacia. You might want to combine this guide with my tier list of Dacian units, which will be linked here in the video as well. But overall, I think both Warbands and Volksmen in harder difficulties are rather poor, so I'm rather skeptical of going this barracks building line pretty much at all. Chosen Swordsmen are okay, but building whole this chain only for them, in my opinion, just does not work, and you are better off capturing a settlement that has tier 3 barracks and then just utilizing them. Stables, I mean, Barbarian Cavalry and especially Warhounds might be what you are going to need, perhaps Barbarian Noble Cavalry, but still, in my opinion, stables are not that good, excepting perhaps the Warhounds. And I will come back to that a bit later, but in my opinion, the best way to go is to utilize these archery ranges. First of all, Archer Warband, easily available, and then Chosen Archer Warbands, whenever they are available. And that combined with Blacksmith and Weaponsmith, as well as Sacred Circle of Hebeleses or Sacred Circle of Zalmoxes, should do relatively okay. So basically about those war dogs, you are going to perhaps need them against Scythians, because they have horse archers and those war dogs can do relatively well against war dogs. But pretty much, I think the early archery units are pretty much the only advantage that Dacia has in the campaign, and that has to be leveraged in order to succeed, especially in the harder difficulties. If you look at the beginning position, you are not making money, actually you are losing money, and the starting treasury is actually quite small. So you cannot make too many investments and you cannot hire too many mercenaries. So kind of the basic guideline is that you have to be aggressive, because your treasury just cannot hold with these two settlements. And also the direction of aggressiveness matters, because, well, here we have some small settlements that are relatively easy to take, but they are really poor, and they are not at all that good, even if you can take them. And since there are no roads, it will take a while until your armies can reach them, and you need to cross rivers and whatnot. So yeah, that's going to hurt rather badly. So 3 turns for general to Lovosize, and for infantry it takes 3 turns to Aquingum. So that's quite a bit. So you need to be aggressive, and fortunately Thracia has only 2 settlements, so it should be relatively easy to wipe them out. And then you should have access to some, well, these are not perhaps the best settlements in the game, but at least they are better than the starting settlements you have. And in addition to problems with finances, you might end up having problems with population, since you need to draw on these settlements to train the units. And as you can see, the growth rate is nothing to write home about. So you will need to utilize that, and at least in my campaign I run out of population in both of these cities. So capturing these bigger settlements will become important, because then you can get those troop training facilities ready and continue your push onwards. Perhaps one additional advantage for Dacia is related to their location, because they are quite close to this dirty rich area of Greek cities and Macedonia. And furthermore, you can recruit really good mercenaries in this area, first of all, Illyrian mercenaries and then Grecian archers mercenary hoplites, which should be able to bolster your infantry roster and missile unit roster quite nicely. And those Illyrian mercenaries can also act as relatively decent light infantry when they have thrown all of their missiles. Related to the aggressiveness in this campaign, you should try to take out at least Macedon and Greek cities as early as possible. Because if Greek cities can field armies comprising mostly of armored hoplites, you are in trouble. Because your infantry unit, not even the chosen swordsmen, can stand against armored hoplites. And furthermore, your cavalry roster is relatively weak and they usually cannot break those armored hoplites. And since they are heavily armored, they have rather large shield, your archery units are in trouble against them. So you should get these Greek cities out before they can begin to field those rather difficult troops to face. The same applies to Macedon. If they begin to face phalanx pikemen, not to mention royal pikemen and some heavier cavalry, you are once again in trouble because you pretty much don't have anything with which to counter them. So you have to be aggressive. That's the main word here. Be aggressive. And after taking this area, you can of course improve your finances by taking these settlements over here, but then you need to face the Romans and hopefully before Marian reforms. Because the same applies to legionary cohorts that applies to armored hoplites. You just don't have pretty much anything with which to beat them. You just have to outmaneuver them in some way, just utilize the terrain or something if things get to that point. So once again, aggressiveness to Italy after conquering Greece is the key. Against other barbarian factions, you will most likely be facing Gauls. They will be throwing quite large armies at you, but I mean, their infantry is of the same quality as yours, so it should be rather easy to beat them. Against Germanians, well, they do have those spear warbands and those hard-hitting elite units, but I think your archer warbands and chosen archers especially are an answer to those, so you shouldn't be too worried about Germanians. You should be able to beat them. And I think the same applies pretty much to the Britons, especially the archery units should be carrying the day against them. Scythians most likely will cause you trouble, and they will be using horse archers to do that. And to counter them, you will need to have missile units and probably some warhounds as well, and perhaps some good choke points, for example in the fjord, or rather bridge that most likely will be built over there, will be rather useful, or then taking Campus Scythi and making sure that you have big enough garrison there so you can hold against these Scythian armies coming rather periodically from that way. So I think with these steps you should get things going, and in order to bolster that aggressiveness, you should pretty much hire every mercenary you can. And at least, well, there are some guides saying that you shouldn't exterminate settlements when capturing them in any circumstances. I think I have to disagree here, because the loot you gain from extermination here will keep your army going. You can hire new mercenaries, you can hire new units, and you can just keep pushing southwards. So basically, be aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive. In order to do that, hire everything you can and just keep pushing. That's in the nutshell this guide here. And especially utilize those missile units, because they are the early game advantage you have. So, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Did I miss something? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. You get some nice perks from that, and it will be helping the channel quite a bit. Have a great rest of the day. Quality Old Games out.